about minus 90 degrees Celsius, and we've designed the helicopter to keep itself warm. So we've planned for up to 5 flights in the 30 Martian days that have been set aside for our flight experiments. The flight data we get from the helicopter will inform our team the health of the helicopter and performance of each flight. The data could also include a few color photos. First ever photos of Martian terrain taken from aerial vantage. That would be true icing on our cake.
Cake, Mimi, thank you. And you're right, we did have a little bit of a shakeup, but everything seems to be okay right here so far. And we look forward to Ingenuity's first flight. And with that, let's head back to KSC as we continue the countdown to Mars.
All right, thank you, Raquel. When the name Perseverance was chosen for the rover, our country was in the early stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, the name is also a fitting description of what NASA teams needed to get this rover to the pad on time. Joining us now is NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine. Thank you very much for being here, Jim. Perseverance is meaning a lot, and that includes recently a 3.9 earthquake that we have reports of in California.
Yeah.
We just saw our own Mimi Ung. She said things were rattling there. So we are persevering a lot.
Good thing we're not launching from Vandenberg today.
You're absolutely right about that. Things looking good here in Florida. I want to ask you, why did you choose to move NASA forward on this launch in the midst of a global pandemic?
Oh, well, there's a number of reasons, but I think the biggest thing is, the public wants to see the United States of America and our international partners do stunning things. And we have a history of doing amazing things in the most challenging times, and this is no different. So look, here's the other challenging thing with Mars in general. We can only go to Mars once every 26 months when when literally the planets are aligned, and if we miss this launch window, it would cost us $500 million to store this vehicle for the next 2 years. And so there's a lot of reasons to go forward. Some of it is financial, the NASA budget, and then the other big reason is Americans want to see us continue to do big things. I want to be really clear though. We have made sure that all along this process, if somebody didn't feel comfortable working on this project, they had the option to not work on this project. And I will tell you, we didn't find that very often, if at all. Mm-hmm. I will also say that our highest priority was the safety of our people, and we wanted them to know that if they come to work, they're going to be safer at work than they would be if they stayed at home. And of course the personal protective equipment, the social distancing, the changing of schedules in order to minimize people working on the vehicle at one time. All of these things were put into place as protective measures, but it is true. The name Perseverance, which was given to this robot by Alex Mather, who's a 7th grader in Virginia. Mm-hmm. This is all about perseverance, and going to Mars, as you said, going to Mars is all about persevering in general. Doing it now is more persevering than ever before.
Real quick, we've got a launch, of course, counting down. How are you feeling?
Well, nervous as always. This is a lot of money at the top of a rocket, and of course not just the money, but the entire life's work of so many, thousands of people. So look, it's going to be a good day. We're knocking on wood. Right. But it's going to be a good day for NASA.
Thank you very much for being here, Jim. Appreciate
Always.
your leadership.
Thank you. You bet.
All right.
Thank you so much. We are now at L- 14 minutes and counting. Let's check back in with Joshua and Mick, get an update on preparations to launch the rocket. Joshua, there's an important poll by the Launch Services Program happening soon, right?
Yes, absolutely. So the countdown is continuing. Obviously, a status report, we heard them talking about the earthquake, and everything is still good. We're hearing that on the back end, that things are proceeding well. No major issues or hiccups because of that. Everything going well. The savvy viewers out there will notice the clocks in motion, 2 clocks actually. The countdown clock there behind Daryl and Moo is at 4 minutes and holding. At T-minus 4 minutes and holding. But the clock on your screen now is the L clock, and that is continuing to count down towards that 7:50 a.m. liftoff time.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Josh. As we talked earlier, the L time is the real-time clock that continues to count down to 0. At T-minus 4 and counting, the 2 clocks, the T clock and the L clock, will sync up as the team continues to work their operational sequence events and the procedure. So the team is very focused this morning. As you already mentioned, the earthquake that was brought up, the team has assessed that and looked at it, and they're doing a great job and getting us to 0 this morning.
So we mentioned the U.S. Space Force as one of the 5 teams earlier, and next up we have the NASA Launch Services Program program team responsible for managing the launch. And we're going to hear a poll here from the NASA launch manager himself, Omar Baez. He's going to poll his team for their readiness to be able to report out in just a few minutes. So he's very punctual, so this should be coming right on time here in just a few seconds. Let's listen in now.
This is the NLM on the NLM net. Currently working, no issues on the Ranger or the launch vehicle. Weather is green, 10% chance of violation, and winds aloft look good for the entire window. The spacecraft did experience some earthquake activity at their control center in Pasadena, but appears to be ready to proceed. And with that, I would like to poll the team for final launch poll and spacecraft configuration. NASA CE.
NASA CE is go.
SMA.
SMA is go.
SMD.
SMD is go.
NASA Mission Manager.
NASA Mission Manager is go.
LSP.
LSP is go.
Copy. NASA team is ready to proceed.
All right, so we heard NASA team is ready to proceed. He even mentioned the weather in there, which is great, only a 10% chance of violation. Again, a big thank you to Jessica Williams of the U.S. Space Force 45th Space Wing.
I like the fact that we're working no issues this morning into this count. That's an important part that Omar brought up. And the team, one thing you need to understand about the NLM is it's a combined NASA team of spacecraft and engineering. So hearing all those goes is good this morning.
Yep, and we're going to keep moving because we got a lot to do still. We're going to throw it back out to you, Daryl.
All right, thank you very much, Joshua. Our NASA teams across the country overcame challenges caused by the COVID-19 outbreak, as you've heard so far, to get this Mars rover to the launch pad on time.
We are about to hear from workers at centers in California and Florida who took every imaginable precaution while managing to get this vital work done.
When I saw the country shutting down, I thought for sure there is no way we're going to be able to continue this.
It's something that nobody expected. It's something that nobody could plan for.
Rather than your first priority being mission success and getting to the launch pad, your first priority immediately gets displaced, and it's now the safety of the people.
I was seriously thinking Mars would be Mars 2022.
It took a lot of work to put stuff together in order to keep momentum going, to keep people working safely, keep them healthy, and to keep the project on schedule.
There's no doubt that working in isolation, not virtual isolation, but in physical isolation from everyone else, is a challenge.
It's hard for me. I have 2 young kids. Sometimes I'm not able to focus or listen probably as well as I would want to.
A lot of our work was occurring in a clean room anyways, but that meant that even before we entered the clean room, we had to find ways of ensuring that we were not putting ourselves or others at risk.
Most of the time for these missions, our relation with the spacecraft customer is incredibly important. So usually we're able to be here working beside them on their equipment and making sure that all of their needs are covered even before they ask for it. It is a challenge, but we're used to meeting unique requirements here at the hangar, and we pride ourselves in our flexibility.
This is just another mission, just with a different set of obstacles that we have to overcome. It might not be, like a broken rocket, but it's it's got its own challenges.
Our job is to go into the unknown, and this is just another example of the unknown. How to make this job happen when you're doing it largely through a computer screen.
I asked the team a couple months ago if they would like to do something to kind of symbolize and mark these challenges that we faced, and they designed something that we called a COVID-19 perseverance plate that's now affixed to the port side of the rover. It has a globe representing all of us that face this challenge together, the spacecraft leaving the Earth on its way to Mars, and all of this supported by the now familiar staff and servant of the medical community. And we hope that this mission, in some small way, can inspire them in return. Pretty much everybody that I've talked to that's associated with the mission has said the same thing, which is you could not have come up with a better name than Perseverance.
We have persevered through this. Nobody's given up. We will get this mission done. We will get it done through the pandemic,
I think it's a really important symbol of humanity hopefully persevering through this great challenging time that we have right now.
We appreciate that team as well as the medical community that really stepped up and helped. And it's ironic, Moo, because the name Perseverance was chosen by a 7th grader who at the time he submitted that name, he didn't know that we would be faced with a global pandemic. So we are glad to have him and his family here along with the student who named the helicopter to watch the launch in person.
Their names are Alexander Mather and Veniza Rupani, and they are watching from the 5th floor balcony of our engineering building, just a stone's throw away from the countdown clock. Look at that, there they are, looking cool. Alexander Mather, who goes to Lake Braddock Secondary School in Burke, Virginia, submitted the winning essay to name our rover Perseverance.
Yeah, they've got a great view. I've seen it from up there. They've got the VAB in the background, as you can see there. So
cool.
It's such a beautiful setup for this awesome launch. And Veniza, who you can see her and they're waving. Hey guys, appreciate you. She's a junior at Tuscaloosa County High School in Northport, Alabama. She entered the contest as well and came up with the name Ingenuity for our helicopter that will accompany our rover to Mars. Thank you both for being here. What a neat view that is.
Yes.
All right, folks, with the coast phase coming up, we want to let you know that after the launch, it will be about an hour before Mars Perseverance separates from the 2nd stage. When that happens, the rover will then be on its way to Mars, so hang in there.
Yeah, don't go away, as we will walk you through the flight around the Earth, and we'll talk live with the astronaut Zena Cardman about our human exploration ambitions and NASA's Associate Administrator of Science, Dr. Thomas Zurbuchen.
It's going to be great, folks, so stick around. It's L-6 minutes and 26 seconds now, and time to focus our attention on the launch operation the rest of the way to liftoff. So let's send it back out to Mick Woltman and Joshua Santora. Gentlemen.
Thank you. I want to let you listen into the remainder of this poll in motion. Let's go to that now.
Range coordinator.
Clear to proceed.
Launch director.
LD is go, and you have permission to launch.
Proceeding with the count. ALC, verify T0 is set for 1150 Zulu.
So 11:50 Zulu. That is 7:50 a.m. Eastern time. So that time is correct.
As I'm watching Josh do the calculations on his finger there.
Get my abacus out.
That's right.
No. So there's a lot to come ahead. One of the things coming up in just a few seconds.
5 minutes, 30 seconds.
OS,
NSC.
Go NSC.
Spacecraft on internal power and timer set for T0 of 1150 Zulu.
Roger. OS, start list data capture.
Roger.
Fantastic.
All steps are complete prior to terminal count. LC switch is ready.
Awesome. So things are really starting to pick up here. You're going to hear more and more chatter on those nets there. That call was to say that Perseverance is powered and ready to go, which is a phenomenal call.
Yeah, a couple things happened during that time, right? Launch conductor, ULA's launch conductor, Scott Barney, pulled the whole ULA team. They were all go. We got to hear
the third of our 5 teams.
The third of our 5 teams. We got to hear the end of that where the range was clear to proceed, and ULA's launch director, Bill Cullen, gave the authority to go for launch this morning at 7:50 a.m. Then we got to hear from the JPL spacecraft team that they are
the fourth team
that they are on internal power and timers are set. They are targeting a liftoff of 7:50 a.m. this morning. So all things are looking good for us, Joshua, this morning. It's so, we talk about being nervous and excited. This is right here where we're nervous and excited.
Yes.
There are a lot of things happening as we get ready to count down to the liftoff this morning. We have about 15 seconds left in this hold before we pick up the count.
Yeah, we're going to listen into that. The 5th team, the one we haven't mentioned yet, is the Department of Energy, who is responsible for the MMRTG, the power source for Perseverance.
3, 2, 1, mark.
Awesome. So this is now the terminal countdown. This is that time when things become more and more automated over the next few minutes, and the energy's building, but the focus is increasing exponentially.
Yeah, as Tori said during his interview, the teams are very disciplined, very focused on what they're doing, the operational sequence of events that they're following. They are making sure everything happens, especially in this T-4 and counting period, because there's a lot of things they have to do. They have to finish topping the vehicle, make sure that all the tanks, first stage, second stage on Centaur are at flight pressures and full of fuel, ready to go for this morning. They have to make sure the FTS system is armed and ready for personnel safety just in case, so that the range can do that. They have to check the electrical and avionics systems. They have to make sure that the flight computer has all the information it needs to place Mars 2020 into the orbit it has to. So a lot of things going on. Exciting time for the team right now, but again, staying focused and following that procedure they've got.
3 minutes.
As we look ahead to post-liftoff, want to kind of preview for you what's going to happen because there's going to be a lot going on. You're not going to hear much from us. You'll actually be hearing from the ULA flight commentator, Jesse Gonzalez. He'll be kind of giving those calls past liftoff that will walk us through maximum dynamic pressure and into SRB separation and then into fairing separation, booster separation, and then the first main engine ignition of the Centaur,
yes.
RL-10. And so then you'll kind of hear us jump back in and help provide some more context to what's going on. We encourage you to stay with us for the rest of the show, though. There's a ton more content we have to bring you, and we are far from over. Want to emphasize that the countdown to Mars is not done at 0 today. The countdown to Mars ends in February when Mars 2020 safely delivers Perseverance and Ingenuity to the surface of the red planet. So we're going to let you listen in now and enjoy the last couple minutes of the process of launching a rocket.
One minute 59.
Vehicle internal.
1 minute 55.
Launch sequencer start.
1 minute 50.
Securing Centaur LH2.
Securing Centaur LO2.
So there we heard the fueling is
1
wrapping
minute
up
40.
there.
Yep, fueling is wrapping
Launch
up.
enabled.
Team is gone. Launch enable's
137.
done. Launch conductor sequence is ready to go. They're getting ready to turn the vehicle over to auto
FPS
sequence at T-minus 31 seconds. So that's a big thing that they're getting done here. At T-minus 25 seconds, we will hear the team give their final goes that everything is ready and
1
the
minute
launch
20.
vehicle is ready to lift off and
OCU
perform
armed.
this mission.
SCS count started.
1 minute 15.
Produce CCS for launch. Roger.
1 minute 10.
Vent valves locked.
One minute.
Rock, report range status.
Range green.
That's good to hear, Joshua, right
That means
there.
public safety there is accounted for, the FTS system. There you see on your screen a beautiful shot. The skies look great. There is little wind happening. You'd be able to see more of the venting. If there were wind, the trail of that venting. So we're ready to go.
And actually, that's an important point. The reason we don't see that
Stable
venting
at
is the
step 3.
vent valves have been locked up to put flight pressure into the tanks. And as we just heard, they're stable at step 3, which means the tanks are ready to go. And here at about 5 seconds, we will
28
hear
seconds.
the team
ECS reduced for launch.
give their
Roger.
final go.
25 seconds.
Status check. Go Atlas.
Go Centaur.
Go Mars 2020.
There we go. We are ready to go lift off this morning, Joshua.
Eight, 7, 6, 5, 4. Engine ignition. 2, 1, 0.
Release.
And liftoff. As the countdown to Mars continues, the perseverance of humanity launching the next generation of robotic explorers to the red planet.
And Atlas TU has gone to closed loop control. Coming up on 30 seconds into flight, the RD-180 is throttling down as expected. Engine response looks good. And Mach 1, Atlas 5 is now supersonic. And passing 45 seconds into flight, vehicle is now passing through max Q, maximum dynamic pressure. And passing 1 minute into flight, the RD-180 is throttling back up as expected. Engine response looks good. At this time in flight, the SRB chamber pressures remain nominal. The RD-180 pump speed and fuel injector pressures are responding well to demands on the engine. Standing by for SRB burnout shortly. And we have burnout on all 4 SRBs. Burnout pressure signatures look good. Standing by for SRB jettison shortly. And we have good indication of SRB jettison of all 4 SRBs. And the vehicle has gone to closed-loop guidance. Vehicle body rates are responding nominally at this time. And coming up on 2.5 minutes into flight, the RD-180 is throttled down slightly as expected. Engine response continues to look good. At this time, the vehicle is 50 miles in altitude, 85 miles downrange, traveling at 6,000 miles per hour. And the Centaur reaction control system is now pressurizing to flight levels. And just past 3 minutes into flight, the RD-180 is now throttling to maintain a constant 2.5 G acceleration limit for payload fairing jettison. Engine response and vehicle acceleration look good. And we have good indication of payload fairing jettison and Centaur forward load reactor deck jettison. And the RD-180 is throttling back up to attain a 4.6 G acceleration. Engine response continues to look good. And Centaur has begun the boost phase chill down sequence to thermally condition the RL-10 for operation. Standing by for BECO shortly.
BECO is the call for booster engine.
And we have BECO, booster engine cutoff, standing by for stage separation. And we have good indication of Atlas Centaur separation.
So they're using live footage.
And we
from
have
the
MES
rocket.
1. RL-10 operating parameters look good. Chamber pressures are stable. This will be the first of 2 burns for today's mission. This first burn will be approximately 7 minutes in length.
So Mick, that's pretty exceptional footage there. That's live video. We will see that switch over shortly into an animation that kind of helps let us know what's happening with the rocket. But right there, a beautiful liftoff. Fun to feel that rumble in the building here as we proceed towards orbit and then towards Mars destination.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great watching an on-time liftoff of the Atlas V with that little over 2 million pounds of thrust. Cleared the tower in roughly 5 seconds. Josh, you and I worked the InSight mission, and if you recall, that mission on the West Coast took about 17 seconds to get past tower. So with those 4 solids today, this thing really got out of here and on its way. And it's, as we hear from Jesse, everything's looking nominal, and all vehicle parameters are within the design limits, and we're getting ready to come up on a main engine start for that first burn that Jesse was talking about.
Yeah, so recapping this countdown to Mars, the stations began to be filled up this morning just after midnight. Preparations, fuelings, powering up, all the way through that liftoff that happened. I think, Mick, it wasn't precisely on time. I think you said it was like 10 milliseconds early. So it's pretty much dead on.
Yeah, dead on. This team does a great job job. As I said, they're very focused, very disciplined. As Tori also said, courageous. They have done a lot of work to get us to this point today through this pandemic, changed how they did some of their work, made adjustments as needed, a lot of cleaning, a lot of things, a lot of wearing their face masks, doing all kinds of things. And so this is an exciting time, not only for the JPL team in Mars 2020, but everybody that's worked this mission and for the country and the agency. So this is exciting to see. We still have a long way to go, Joshua, before spacecraft separation.
Yeah, we had a really quiet countdown today, which is phenomenal, that we got off the ground on time. And we are proceeding now that we are in the middle of the first burn. It's tough to make out, but that engine is lit and it's firing. So we are in motion. There you go. There's that animation we talked about.
To telemetry there as we switch to a TDRS compatible data format.
TDRS.
Overall telemetry quality is very good.
The space tracking system. So there you go. This is not an actual video, but this is an animation that's driven by real data. So although we're not actually seeing the engine on screen right now, we can see that the engine is lit, and that is driven by the data that says that the engine is truly lit and we're in this burn.
Yeah, the launch vehicle continues to send telemetry to the launch team via the TDRS network, as you mentioned, and that allows them to continue to watch what's going on and make sure all their sequence of events meet their timeline. We continue on a nominal flight this morning. This first burn, as we heard earlier, will be about 6 minutes. This will get us into that park orbit around Earth, allow us to get on our way, and then get into that approximately 30-minute coast period that we're going to have.
8 minutes into flight, beginning to see the Centaur PU system balance out mass errors, seeing very stable body rates in the Centaur.
So we've mentioned 5 teams at play, and although if you were watching, hopefully you got a chance to see this in person, if not on camera, it's easy to kind of say, oh, it's over, like job done, but all 5 of these teams still very much engaged, still very much focused, because there's a lot of work ahead as we proceed through this first burn, and then a coast phase, like you mentioned, Mick, and then a second burn, and then spacecraft separation and the acquisition of signal from Mars 2020. So a lot more coming up here. Mick, I know for Launch Services Program, you guys manage the launch. So what does that mean? I mean, this is you guys' work in action right now.
By the way, that's the 5th team that we didn't get to mention. We talked about JPL, we talked about DOE, we talked about United States Space Force, and United Launch Alliance. LSP, we are like the brokers to select this launch vehicle and help with manage this mission. So we get our spacecraft customer, the JPL folks, they come to us. They have some certain requirements that they need for this mission. The Launch Services Program made up of engineers and flight analysis folks, and they look at everything, they help define those requirements, and then we go out and procure a vehicle from a commercial partner. In this case, it was the Atlas 541 for the Mars 2020 mission that was needed for performance, right? As you and I have talked over the last several days, Josh, one of the things that was important for us to look at was that performance, to be able to get Mars 2020 onto that transfer orbit into solar orbit to intercept Mars in 7 months. It's kind of analogous to a football game, right? With a quarterback trying to throw a pass downfield. You need a quarterback with a lot of performance who can get that ball down there where it needs to be, and so the receiver can intercept that. In our case, 7 months later.
There you go. Yeah, it's the longest football pass ever. The Earth is the quarterback. The Atlas is the quarterback's arm. Perseverance is the football, and Mars is the receiver.
That's exactly right.
And what we also talked about is that technically you could launch to Mars at any time if you had a rocket that was powerful enough. But this is the launch period every 26 months or so, as we've talked about, that makes the most sense because you require the least amount of energy to get to Mars because it takes a lot to get there. Obviously, like the Atlas 541 is a workhorse.
Yeah, as Tori said, it's their Dominator. Right?
There you go.
I love that name for the Atlas 541. But we heard Jim Bridenstine, our NASA administrator, tell us that if we didn't make this launch period, we would be down for roughly 26 months.
It's
right?
Tough.
So the period started July 17th and goes to August 15th. Today, July 30th, was one of those launch opportunities that we had. We had a 2-hour window, and within that window, we had several opportunities.
25, actually.
Yeah.
25 opportunities.
And we launched at the beginning of the window on our first opportunity to get Mars 2020 going on its way. And that, that sounds like a lot, and it is. The flight analysis group, both at JPL, LSP, and ULA, did a lot of work to pick out those target sets and figure out where we needed to be. So they've done a great job, and we'll see how this mission continues.
So, Mick, tell us about the 2 burns required here, and we're actually coming up on the end of the first one. Ultimately, a lot of people probably, and myself included at some point, just like, why wouldn't you just keep firing the engines? Just fire all the way through and get to Mars in one shot.
So the first burn gets us into that park orbit we talked about. We've lifted off, we've left Earth, we've got into a park orbit around Earth right now. And while we're in that park orbit, we will perform some maneuvers to kind of roll Mars Perseverance and the Centaur and coast during that time, basically setting itself up looking at the sun and away from the sun to control the thermal environments that are on Mars 2020 during this coast period. That coast period will allow us to coast around into the position that we need so that we can have that second firing to get the velocity needed to head off into Mars.
Yes, and we will be back for that second burn in just under 30 minutes now. But for now, there's more to learn about this mission and all of the amazing science that's involved. Daryl, back to you.
All right. Thank you very much. Great launch and great job, guys. Back outside now to recap. An Atlas V rocket carrying Mars Perseverance rover launched on time from the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station at 7:50 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time.
Incredible. After the rocket took flight, it separated from the first stage and was then boosted into orbit by the Centaur's second stage. Perseverance is now preparing for a second burn that will put it on a trajectory toward Mars. That's just incredible to say. It gives me goosebumps.
It really is. And we're so excited about that as well. And while we wait for that second burn, hang in there with us because we got a lot of exciting coverage to go. We're going to welcome in one of our launch guests, Dr. Derek Muller. He is the creator and host of the popular science education channel on YouTube called Veritasium. He also holds a doctorate in physics education, so he's really smart. And that's why you saw us kind of having some fun, because Derek was here on set. We're just having a good time talking about this launch, which I got to start off with that, Derek. Your first time seeing a launch in person, what'd you think?
I mean, what can you say? I have nothing to compare it to, but it was awesome, something I will never forget, and I definitely want to be invited back. So if you guys could make that happen, I mean, just so amazing to
You
see.
do a great job explaining physics. What did it feel like? Kind of walk me through as you were watching and experiencing it.
Well, it's like all the physics goes out the window a little bit. It's a very visceral moment between you and this very powerful craft. I think it's just amazing, all the engineering that goes into making something that's that powerful and yet that controlled,
Yeah.
and to witness that is phenomenal. And then to feel the rumble of all that sound as it hits you, I found it an incredibly emotional experience. It's almost unbelievable to see it taking off. It's very surreal, that's for sure.
Nice.
Wow.
What excites you the most about the Perseverance rover?
Well, the Perseverance rover is going to do a lot of great science. So I'm excited, for example, that it's going to cache samples that we're going to bring back. Super excited that we're actually going to have samples from Mars in our hands. And I think that may clinch whether we can see that life is actually there. But I'm also super excited about Ingenuity, about the helicopter, which I got to visit out at JPL before it was strapped to the underbelly of the rover. And to think about flying a rotorcraft in, another world, essentially, in a place that only has 1/100th the Earth's atmosphere. Exactly. It seems audacious, and I am impressed and amazed, and I can't wait to see if it works. I'm cautiously optimistic. I think the team is phenomenal.
And you did, in fact, a YouTube story on it, a piece on your channel, and did a fantastic job going to JPL.
I did, yeah, and I was just so lucky that it was like there, a meter or two away from me on the other side of a door in a clean room, and that was, one of the great moments of my life. Yeah,
that thing's going to Mars.
Exactly. Yeah, and it weighs like about as much as my laptop.
Yeah.
And you think about, it's substantial in its size, and it's going to go there and take off and fly all by itself, because of course we can't control it, given the time delay and everything. That is, I just think, one of the pinnacles of human engineering.
Yes, absolutely. Now, this is going to do some big science as well. What are your thoughts on the search for ancient microbial life on another planet, Mars?
Well, I think chances are good that Mars once harbored life. It was so similar to Earth in the past. One can only expect, life probably sprung up there as well. But I'm really excited for us to get that confirmation, because I think it really transforms our ideas about life and how frequent it is. Right now, all we have is this sample size of one Earth with life. If we find another one, that's 100% more information and data, and I think it's likely that life will not be exactly like ours. And I think it'll be fascinating, everything we can learn about other potential forms of life just by finding life on another planet.
You seem to suggest that you think there is life.
I do. I mean, you have liquid water for I don't know how many, half a billion or a billion years. On Earth, that was enough to create life. So, the guess is that's not a unique thing, right? I mean, the scientific hypothesis is you run that enough times, it's bound to lead to life again in other circumstances.
Dr. Derek Muller, we really appreciate you being here, YouTube creator with the channel Veritasium. We know you have a 2.5-week-old child that your wife is holding down.
There are very few things that I could leave for, but this launch, that is one of them.
Thank you so much for doing so. Get a selfie with our full-size rover back here. You see
Yes,
that?
please.
I definitely will.
Very good.
Thank you.
So much.
There has been a lot of anticipation by NASA teams leading up to this launch, but